Hello YouTubes, I'm Julian and this is my OnlyFans. Nah, I'm just kidding. What's going on everyone? I'm Julian and this is my first YouTube video, so let's see what happens. So I'm a founder and I've been building things for the past decade. I love building, creating things, and I love this journey of being able to create something from nothing. And I thought I would start this YouTube channel to basically open source the thinking, the process, the journey behind the difficult journey of creating something from nothing. My key goal here is just to be able to teach you what I learned along the way, take you into the realms of my mind, the fears, the limiting beliefs, the mental blockers, the tough moments, and of course, the hard-earned lessons and the good wins along the way. There's a lot that goes into creating, into building a product, and I've done it many times now, and I'm gonna do it again, so I thought this time I would document the journey. But why should you even listen to me? Well, I've been building things as a startup founder for the past decade, and most recently, I've built a company named Jungle that, along with my co-founder David, we've scaled it to 1.5 million users and over $2 million in revenue. I'll share a little bit more about Jungle later, but here are some other cool things I've done along my journey. So I started learning how to code when I was 13. And then a year later, I got really into just selling things online. I started selling stuff on eBay. I scaled that business to over $250,000 in revenue, which was pretty cool. And then I decided to study computer science in college. And while I was in college, I had the opportunity of co-founding my first startup named Vise. It's basically like a glass door for factory workers in Mexico, where basically workers could create anonymous reviews about their experiences working in different companies so that you could get to know what a job was like before you got it. Very social impact driven, and I'm gonna share a story later as to like how I personally transformed myself, and where this sort of insane level of ambition, sense of purpose around education and many things came from. And then finally, I did a couple internships. I did some internships at Goldman Sachs, at LinkedIn, where I was on the LinkedIn learning team. That was kind of like my venture into the edtech world. And then I was also at Meta, which was really fun. I eventually ended up accepting Meta's full-time offer, and that's what brought me out here to the Bay Area, where I've now been living for the past 5 years. Turns out I only lasted 9 months at Meta before I was like ready to say fuck it and quit and take the quantum leap into being a founder full time. I think that's one of the many impacts of being in an area like Silicon Valley, where, you know, when I first came here, I felt like for the first time in my life, I didn't feel so crazy. I didn't feel so different. Like I was still different, but I was around all these other like weird, wacky, ambitious, curious, intellectually interesting people. And you know, it turns out that all the 3 people I lived with when I moved here ended up all becoming startup founders, and one of them even became my co-founder. So that's just kind of like the power and the energy that this area attracts, which is really cool. And yeah, eventually with my now co-founder, we started a company that ended up turning into Jungle. Jungle is an AI learning platform for students that can basically take any content they're learning, it can be like a PDF, their lecture slides, a YouTube video, anything really, and we transform it into a gamified quiz with AI. And it's really cool. It's kind of like go from passively, mindlessly consuming your study material, what you need to learn, into a rich, active learning experience that's gamified, it's fun, it kind of has like Duolingo vibes. And yeah, we've been building that for over the past 3 years and have scaled it pretty well, learned a lot of things, made a lot of mistakes. But I'm now at the point where I want to explore new things. I want to start building new things. And that's kind of what brings me to this journey and wanting to sort of document the process of starting something from nothing again. So before I dive into like kind of what's going next or where I'm at, the last part of this intro video that I really want to touch on is the story of, you know, how I transformed and like completely broke through so many of my limiting beliefs and things that were holding me back, and how I found a purpose that scaled my ambition by like 1000x. And it's also what made me so obsessed about education and led me down the path to startups. So here's how it goes. Ever since I can remember growing up, since I was like 5, 6, I don't know, I felt something inside me. I felt like this sort of weird level of ambition, like this thing within me, this fire that was within me. But for many, many years, for most of my childhood and teenage years, I never really did much in response to it. You know, I did like do a few things. Like I started learning to code when I was 13. I ended up starting a business and things like that, and they were great. But I was fundamentally misaligned with this ambition because for the most part, I overdosed on video games, right? This is all I really cared about growing up. Like, you know, I went so hard with RuneScape, World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Call of Duty, FIFA. That was my life. It was all I really cared about. You know, I came home from school. That's the first thing I was trying to do. I even, we had a housekeeper that helped out a lot. I even taught her how to turn on my computer and open a specific program, like the game on my computer, so that when I got home, I would waste no time. So it's kind of funny how even when I was like super obsessed with video games, I had this optimizer energy with me, just kind of like go all in insane and go as hard as I can with whatever I do, even if it's video games. And then in school, I never really read unless I had to for school. And I just wasn't a very curious person. Like, I wasn't engaged, school was boring, and I also wasn't doing much outside of school. Like, I learned how to code and built like a couple apps, but I felt like I could have done so much more, and just felt like, you know, something was there. Even when I went to college and I started studying computer science, I remember thinking one day, like, wow, because I'm not doing what I feel like I need to do to live in alignment to this ambition that I feel, it looks like I'm just taking a very normal, traditional path in life, and I'm just not doing what I need to do. So it seems like that's what I want, is this traditional path, because I'm not doing what I need. And I felt so bad about that. I was like, damn, do I really want to live an ordinary life? Do I really, like, is this traditional path the one I want to go down? And I knew that didn't feel right, but I just couldn't figure out what the hell I needed to do to break through this, I don't know, these chains of this limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And what happened though in college is that I started to discover the world of personal growth, or, you know, personal development, self-improvement, whatever you want to call it. Initially through Tim Ferriss and his podcast, where he interviews world-class, you know, successful people, and I started to pick up like some habits, like, oh, a lot of them meditate, a lot of them journal, and write. Like, cool. I started to adopt these things and read more, become more curious, but it still wasn't the full picture. What really changed was when I discovered my homie, Tony Robbins. So Tony Robbins is this like kind of like life coach. Like, he has spent over 4 decades studying the most successful people in the world and teaching people how to figure out what the fuck they have within themselves, or like who they are and what they care about, and, you know, basically how to achieve life mastery. Like, I have this mind that I was born with that's like one of the most powerful devices. Like, how do I use it? Because the mind was made to survive, not to thrive, and it's naturally going to look for fears, to things to avoid. The mind hates discomfort. It's going to take us away from that, and we have to do so much to learn how to leverage our mind in order to get ourselves to actually break through all these bullshit narratives that the mind comes up with to keep us addicted to the comfort that is leaving us where we are. So anyways, I went to one of Tony Robbins' seminars called Unleash the Power Within. And man, it's fucking crazy. Like, after that, like, I absorbed everything like a sponge, because it was exactly what I needed. It was exactly what I was looking for. And after that first seminar, everything changed. Like, I stopped playing video games almost entirely. I started reading, eating super healthy. I ate like salads all the time, cut sugars. I started meditating, taking cold showers, writing, and working harder than ever. And for the first time in my life, I finally felt aligned with the ambition that I felt. But then something bigger happened. Tony Robbins talks a lot about contribution, about giving, about purpose, around working towards something bigger than yourself. And what struck me is that one of the reasons that I felt so much ambition, but I wasn't doing what I needed to do, is because that ambition was tied to just a desire to be wealthy. Like it didn't know what else to attach itself to other than wealth. Like I just want to be wealthy for whatever reason. And of course, that's just like a benefit for me, and it wasn't very powerful either, because fortunately, I grew up with a family that was well up. So like I didn't really feel like I had that much motivation around that either. And so it didn't have that much power over me. But there was a purpose that was born from the result of the impact of that seminar. And basically, here's how it happened. After that seminar, I transformed so much and changed so much that I started to think, I was like, wait a second, like, where did all this potential come from? Like, was this potential that I sort of unleashed, or Tony Robbins helped me unlock, was that always buried deep inside of me? And somehow I had no idea of what the hell was going on or what was within me. And then I started thinking, like, wait a second, like, if I had so much more energy, potential within me that I didn't even know was there, can you imagine how many other people are living with this unbounded, infinite potential within them that they don't even know is there? And that's what sparked the obsession and my purpose. Now my purpose is like, how do I figure out how to empower not only myself, but also others to figure out what they have within themselves and to bring that alive, right? And so it's this whole journey of, on one hand, the discovery of who you are, who you want to become, what brings you meaning in life, what things you enjoy creating the most, what do you want to create, what do you fully immerse yourself in when you're in the process of creation. And life isn't just about achieving and getting, it's about giving. So what is it that I want to give to this world? Who do I want to serve? What problems do I want to solve? And on the other hand, one is discovery, right? Getting clarity, like trying to figure out what path is the right path for you. And then on the other hand is just actually doing it, like making it happening, like manifesting that potential, bringing it to life, you know, equipping yourself with the mindsets, the tools, the habits, the people, the relationships, the insights, the knowledge, the routines, the strategies, the tactics that are going to help you actually go and execute and show up in your best self and do what you need to do to make, to not just keep on discovering, but to bring those discoveries to life. Also, it's through action and through doing stuff that you actually discover a lot of things that you want. So they're kind of like not separate, they go together very tightly. And so this is my obsession. And where this took me is mainly in the direction of education, because I primarily see education and personal growth as the key you're able to use to unlock the treasure of your buried potential that's within you. In many ways, it's kind of like we all have this massive titan of potential within us, but that titan is chained up. It's chained up by the chains of limiting beliefs, fears, and anything else that's sort of holding you back. And it's my obsession to figure out how I can break those chains free for myself and for others. And I think as I break them free for others, right, through the work that I do, I also am figuring out how I do that for myself. So anyways, that's why I care about education so much. And with this purpose that I discovered that basically 1000x'd my ambition, that combined with having discovered coding at 13, startups just felt like the most natural things. And that's why I love startups, that's why I love building things, and that's why I love education. And now I feel like with how crazy AI is today, I feel like we have the most insane weapon and tool at our disposal to be able to disrupt, you know, this age-old industry of education that's so broken and there's so many problems around. And wow, like the abundance of opportunity for what can be built is insane. And that's what I'm excited about. And that's kind of like the high level of what I want to tinker with and build around. I've already been building some things, and I'll share more about those things that I'm building and how I'm thinking about them. But yeah, that's what it is. That's who I am. I'm a builder, a creator, a founder, uh, a beautiful, loving soul. And yeah, I'm excited to take you guys through the journey with me and see what we discover and learn together. But cool. Welcome to the universe. Welcome to my universe. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.